of spiritualists came up with the idea of an alphabet board with a planchette-like device to facilitate message writing from the other side. Kennard and his colleagues recognized a niche when they saw one. In this case, a need for mass-produced and uniformly styled talking boards, and thus was born the Kennard Novelty Company. Making the board was not a problem, but what to call it? The investors decided to ask the board itself. Leading the session was Helen Peters, the sister-in-law of one of the investors, and a known medium in her own right. It didn't take long before Peters revealed what the board had answered: Ouija. When the group asked what the word meant, the reply came back: good luck. So now the company had a product and a name, but it still needed a patent before it could be offered to the masses. And in order to get a patent, the company had to prove that the board actually worked. That task fell to company attorney Elijah Bond, who took the invaluable Helen Peters with him to the Washington, D.C. Patent Office. There, the chief patent officer informed them that he would grant the patent if the Ouija board could accurately spell out his name, which was supposedly unknown to Bond and Peters. The board did. Keeping his end of the bargain, the very visibly shaken patent officer granted them their patent on February 10, 1891. The Ouija board was an instant success. Demand for it was so high, the Kennard Novelty Company went from 1 factory to 7 in a year's time. By 1893, ownership of the company started to change face, and William Fold, a stockholder and employee, took to running the show. Fold continued at the helm during the company's boom years, watching as rival board makers launched and failed, none achieving the astonishing success of the Ouija. Fold died in 1927, after falling off the roof of his newest factory, a factory the Ouija board supposedly told him to build. Author Sax Rohmer had a specific question for his Ouija board in the early 1900s. How could he best make a living as a writer? The board spelled out Chinaman. Rohmer soon went on to pen The Mystery of Dr. Fu Manchu in 1912 under the pseudonym Henry Ward. That novel, and the many others that followed in the series, made Rohmer one of the most successful and well-paid authors of the 1920s and 1930s. In the case of author Pearl Curran, the Ouija board not only gave her ideas for books, but actually wrote the books for her. Curran made headlines in 1916 when she claimed that her stories and poems were dictated through a Ouija board by the spirit of a 17th century Englishwoman named Patience Worth, a spirit with apparently a lot to say. Patience/Pearl produced 7 books in addition to volumes of poetry, short stories, plays, and other writings between 1913 and 1937, many of which were critically lauded. Murder, mayhem, and madness. While the Ouija board was helping some creative types reach artistic success, in other corners of the country, it was playing a role in much darker stories. Malachi Martin, Jesuit priest and author of Hostage to the Devil, once wrote that by simply dabbling in the occult, or playing around with such things as Ouija boards, seances, tarot cards, and the like, people can open themselves up to possession because they have made themselves aspiring vacuums to whatever happens along. Ed Warren has called the Ouija board a notorious passkey to terror. 4 out of every 10 cases the Warrens have investigated in their career involved people who unknowingly, or in some cases knowingly, raised inhuman spirits by means of a Ouija board. Some supernatural investigators claim the percentage is even higher. One Catholic website says 90% of their very worst cases involving demonic activity have been linked to the use of a Ouija board. It's not just Catholic priests and laity who recognize the dangers of the Ouija. Paranormal investigator Darren Ansel has expressed a similar concern. I wouldn't touch a Ouija board with a barge pole, he said. I've had too many scares over the years. Dr. Alberto Gonzalez, a psychiatrist with the Pan American Institute of Health, has stated, they, demons, are among us in many instances solely because of these sinister toys called Ouija boards. Dale Kaczmarek of the Ghost Research Society also warns, this is not a parlor game, nor is it something for anyone to experiment with, as there are many dangers involved. I constantly get calls and emails from people who are absolutely terrified after using the Ouija and ask for my help. Often this comes in the middle of the night, from out of state, and by way of adolescence. No matter what it is that's invoked and invited via the Ouija board, it's not of this realm, and it's not your friend. These entities are dangerous, deceitful, and potentially destructive to you and those around you. Why would you invite them into your life? To be totally clear, Ouija boards are not harmless games. They're not something to play around with at sleepovers. They're not something to buy your children for Christmas. Ralph Sarchi, former NYPD police officer and current paranormal investigator. I can hear some of you out there saying, hey, I used a Ouija board and nothing happened. Consider yourself lucky then. It's like playing Russian roulette. When you put the gun to your head, if you don't hear a loud noise, you made it. Same thing with the board. The more times you pull the trigger, the more likely that on the next shot, your entire world will go black.